Hello and welcome back to Chasing Excellence, a show about chasing what truly matters. My name is Patrick Cummings. I'm here with Ben Bergeron. How are you, sir?
Doing good. Thanks, Patrick.
Thanks, everybody out there, for joining us. We've got AMQAP20, which is when we run through as many listener questions as we can inside of 20 minutes. Those questions are all within our 5 factors of health, those few fundamental behaviors that most positively affect our performance, vitality, and longevity. Those 5 factors are how we eat, how we train, how we think, connect, and recover. We've got a handful of really good questions. This time around, we'll jump into it momentarily, but first, a reminder, chasingexcellence.email is our free newsletter. Get over there, get on the list, join us for the new year. We welcome you. We'd love to have you over there for some fun stuff. One more reminder as well, the Mindful Athlete Seminar, something that you and former Navy SEAL Chris Irwin are putting on November 16th at CrossFit New England. It's going to be an immersive one-day event, which will help cultivate your inner awareness, mental resilience, and intentionality in your training, as well as throughout your day. You can learn more about it at CompTrain.com/events. Seats are limited, so if you are interested, November 16th, and you are in the area in New England, come say hi. Ben and I will both be there, as well as a handful of other cool folks.
Yep, 9 to 5. We've been putting this together for a little bit. Chris has a lot of amazing things. He's got a really cool framework, just like we do. We've combined our efforts to present something we think is really meaningful and impactful. Whether you're trying to be a more mindful athlete or just a better person every day, this is going to help us chase what truly matters. So, as Patrick said, CompTrain.com/events.
Chris Irwin, if you want to learn more about him, just Google Rare Sense. Got a bunch of good stuff, and or give us a minute because we're going to have him on the show. We're going to talk through a bunch of the frameworks that you referred to. I'm really excited because I think they're really cool. Lots of good stuff coming. Are you ready to put 20 minutes on our clock?
I am ready.
Don't be nervous. We can do it. We've done it before. All right, 20 minutes on the clock. First one's from Ellen. I've been active my whole life, ran track in high school, danced, and was a cheerleader. Started CrossFit in 2018, which is when I fell in love with lifting. I'm almost 60 now. I've practiced yoga throughout this time as well. As I become a yoga teacher here in Seattle, I want to dedicate more time to yoga. Is there a healthy way to maintain my CrossFit muscles and skills while doing more yoga and possibly less heavy lifting? I want to be more fit, not less. Ellen is my hero.
It's so funny, like how 60 used to sound kind of old.
And now she's starting a new career as a yoga teacher.
Well, now, I'm just a couple years away from 50, so that's the next thing, 60. After that, to maintain muscle mass, it's a matter of strength training 3 times a week. That's a big thing. If we want to expand beyond this a little bit, what we want to do is think of this like 3 concentric overlapping Venn diagram. What is that? I always ask that every time it comes up.
Because one person criticized you like 17 years ago, and now you're just paranoid and you get it wrong.
Okay. What is our strength? How strong are you? Conditioning. How fit are you? And functional range of motion. What is the limiting factor? Build the smallest one until it is on par with the other ones, then grow all 3 together.
There you go. There's your recipe. Next question from Jenny. After your back surgery, Ben, did you have any fears about jumping back into CrossFit?
Jumping back into CrossFit, not necessarily lifting heavy, because I don't think you have to lift heavy to do CrossFit. Everything's relative, right?
Yep.
But for lifting heavy, yes, in a big way. I had my surgery in 2014. I had a fusion of L4 and L5 based off of an injury I had when I was a freshman in high school. So it took basically whatever that was, 20, 30 years for the juice to run out of the joint and the disc and the bones were hitting each other. So I had those fused together. For the first 10 years out of that, well, not 10 years, but 8 years, I did not lift heavy at all. I didn't lift above a 135 barbell. Only in these last 2 years, most notably this last year, have I started to increase weights again. It wasn't something I planned on, but I did enough assessments of myself to figure out how drastically low my strength was relative to my other components. I did a VO2 max. I did some health 3.0 testing, like Peter Attia would do types of stuff. I got a full blood work and DNA and all the rest. And my strength was underneath the other ones in a big, big way. The real reason I started to lift heavier was not intentional, wasn't planned. It was when we morphed and shifted our CompTrain programming.
Mm.
So we went away from this normal CrossFit random lifting to very structured, and it made it very safe. Basically, we lift 3 times a week, and it's systemized to where you never feel like you're lifting that heavy. And just over time, I've literally doubled my strength in the last year since doing that. But
was part of that also a refocus on the slow lifts versus
exactly
kind of
right.
a hodgepodge of like
so we basically took out the barbells crashing on you type thing, right?
Yeah.
So we're not trying to lift as much as we can with snatches. We're not trying to lift as much as we can with jerks, and we're not lifting as much as we can with squat cleans. We're very much focused on the slow lifts, which create more force production, so they make you stronger than the other ones. Now, I'm not saying Olympic lifters aren't as strong as powerlifters, that type of thing. What I'm saying is if you are trying to create the most time under tension for the maximal response in bones and muscles, the slow lifts do win out. That's why we focus on them. And that consistency allowed me to reintroduce myself to strength training. It's been really cool. I'm not back to where I was in my early 30s, and I'm in my late 40s, but I'm not far off from those numbers either, which is kind of wild.
Love it. Cool. All right, next question is from Britt. I take sleep seriously and I've been tracking it for over 3 years with my Whoop. I rarely get less than 100% of my sleep goal as calculated by Whoop. Recently, I started dating someone who snores. We've tried mouth tape and nasal strips for them and earplugs and a fan for white noise for me. Unfortunately, my sleep is still significantly affected. I'm getting far less total sleep time, REM, and deep sleep, and more than double my awake time. Sleeping in another room or separate beds isn't an option for the nights we're together. I don't want to end the relationship over this, but I'm concerned about my sleep quality plummeting after years of consistency. Any suggestions? Britt, break up with them. They're not worth it. They're not worth it.
That was Patrick's. That was Patrick's, not Ben's. I do have some suggestions. It sounds like you've tried a lot of the really low-hanging fruit, which are good ones. I would try different earplugs and maybe even double up the earplugs. So like insert earplugs and plugs over the top. Next is, instead of a fan, do a fan plus real white noise. So you actually have more noise there and more ear dampening. Then put a pillow or two between the two of you, just like when you were a kid sleeping over, you create that wall like, this is your side, this is my side, don't cross over, that type of thing. Those are all like just continuations of what you're already doing.
Yep.
The next ones would be either or, and probably both, have him go to a sleep clinic. He's messing up your sleep. He's not sleeping well. Really serious snoring like that is a telltale sign of sleep apnea. And let me do one more before that. I'll come back to that. Prop up the bed a little bit so the head is a few inches higher than the feet. That could help as well. And a second pillow to lift the head up a little more. Those are all just like little quick tactics. Then from there, the bigger one is the actual sleep assessment. Have him go to a sleep clinic, and he might end up on a CPAP. Is that what they're called?
If not, you're close. Yeah.
Basically like a Top Gun.
Contraption.
Yeah, like gas mask when he sleeps. That's the order I would go in. It's first the lowest hanging fruit, which is these other ones, do what you're doing already. Then the next would be raise his head. And the next one after that would be actually get him to go to a sleep clinic.
My only answer is trying to channel EC. I'm just thinking about what she would say with this question, which is something we talk about a lot on the Consistency Project, which is like, and the only reason I think about it is I've been tracking it for over 3 years with my Whoop. Is anything else being affected would be my question. Because if it's just that your Whoop score goes down a little bit and your performance in the gym's good, you're throughout the day, you've got the energy you want and you're happy and all these other things, I wouldn't sweat the 97% on your Whoop instead of 100. If, in fact, nothing else is being too negatively affected. That's just all I've got to judge that on is the question, and somewhat obsession over 100% on her Whoop score.
I think it's great. If it goes down below 80, I would say,
absolutely.
You have
there's a point there. Yeah, for sure.
And somewhere in between there, it's like, kind of weigh and measure a little bit. If you're every day, you're at 82%, I think you're doing okay. I traveled recently and shared a hotel room with a coworker who snored crazy.
I know who you're talking about now. I will give him grief for this.
And it was, I don't care what my Whoop said. But if my Whoop said I still got 99%, I'm not dealing with that. I would be like, I don't believe my Whoop anymore.
Yep.
That was Crazy. Earplugs be damned. I get it. Like earplugs did not work.
On that note, we're going to pause our clock. We're going to say thanks to a few sponsors. We're brought to you this time around by a new sponsor, Brain.fm, the app designed to boost your focus and productivity with science-backed music. Man, this one's right up my alley. Unlock your brain's full potential free for 30 days by visiting brain.fm/excellence. Do you struggle with focus and productivity? If you find it hard to stay on task or relax after a demanding day, well, certainly you're not alone. Many of us have turned to solutions like Spotify or YouTube or staring at the wall only to find them ineffective. That's where Brain FM comes in. This app offers a unique solution with task-specific audio modes like deep work, creative work, and motivation tailored to meet your exact needs. Their patented technology can boost your focused brainwaves by an impressive 119% in just 5 minutes.
Whoa.
Personally, I've experienced the Brain FM. Helps me dive into work and stay in the zone, making it easier to manage my day. I don't think a day goes by that I don't spend time listening to Brain FM. Remember, you can unlock your brain's full potential free for 30 days by going to brain.fm/excellence.
You can unlock potential?
You can unlock potential. Gosh, what does that sound like?
That's amazing.
We're also brought to you by our friends at Momentous, supplement company dedicated to quality, trust, and transparency. Until November 24th, you can use the code EXCELLENCE at checkout on livemomentous.com for 25% off all of our favorite supplements. The holiday season is about giving, but remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. We talk about this all the time here on the show. This year, prioritize your health with the Momentous 3, protein, creatine, and omega-3. These essential nutrients are backed by expert research and form the foundation of long-term health. They support everything from muscle recovery and growth to focus and energy. And with Momentous, you can trust that what's on the label is exactly what you're getting, thanks to their rigorous sourcing and certifications. Plus, if you spend over $75, you'll receive a free gift of 5 nights of their best-selling sleep packs. So take care of yourself first this season. Go to livemomentous.com. Use the code EXCELLENCE for 25% off through November 24th.
What was that little pack called? Not the sleep pack? We've
the
done
Momentous
that one.
3.
That's 3 of the... As I mentioned, just recently, I did a big health panel.
Yep.
And for the first time, my EPA and DHA were drastically low off the charts.
Oh, interesting.
So I need to start supplementing. So I already do the other 2. There we go. That's like built for Ben.
It's the Ben pack.
Yeah.
All right.
Excellence at checkout. I'm in.
Let's get back into our questions. This next one is from Joe. On a recent episode, you discussed the importance of controlling your environment to make unhealthy food choices more difficult. I find this challenging at work, where my company provides snacks as a benefit. I've advocated for replacing the chocolate chips and sugary cereal bars with healthier options, but I'm in the minority. Most employees prefer the less healthy choices. I understand I control what I eat, but during stressful periods, the combination of lower willpower and a tempting environment makes this really difficult. Should I continue trying to change the office environment or focus solely on my individual choices?
Yes, you can do both. Yeah. I will say that you have way more control over one than the other.
Yep.
It's challenging in messy environments to stay clean, but there are some tactics that you could do, right? And one of which is like get full. Have really healthy options that are really low calorie that will really fill you up when you feel a thing coming on. And then if you still want to do it afterwards, okay. But what I mean by that is like, an example, have on hand a full cucumber, like a big one, not the little guys, but a full one, and 2 cans of seltzer. And after you have those 2 cans of seltzer and a full cucumber, if you still want to have that, then go for it. But make that your type of thing. Instead of like, I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to grit my teeth and I'm not going to have those damn homemade cookies, like that's going to be a battle. Instead, be like, all right, maybe I will, maybe I won't. But before I do that, I'm going to make sure I'm not thirsty, that I'm not hungry, and I'm going to take care of it this way. And then go do that. Mm-hmm. The other one might be a little bit weirder, but works really well.
Weirder than carrying around a giant cucumber and a couple cans of seltzer. I can't wait to hear it.
They invented pockets for a reason, Patrick.
Yep.
Is to brush your teeth.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. If you brush your teeth, you're going to at least eliminate that craving for the next 15, 20 minutes. A lot of times that's enough. Maybe even 30 minutes or longer. If that takes too long, then you can just use, I'm not a big fan of mouthwash because It actually kills the bacteria that's in your mouth. But I'm also not a fan of, well, I am a fan of cookies. But you get it.
Yep, I do.
Yeah.
The only thing, and it's not in Joe's question, but I can imagine it. But part of the hard part of being the one person who doesn't do the cookie, or in my case, always the beer, is the discomfort of being the guy who's like, oh, you never have a thing and you're not fun. And why don't you ever do this? Just making sure that we are, if that is part of the challenge that either Joe or anybody else is feeling, being able to recognize that and recognize how silly that really is as a reason to do something you don't want to do or shouldn't be doing or ideally wouldn't do, right? And just making sure that social pressure isn't part of the ingredients of like, oh, I keep taking the cookie even though I keep telling myself I'm not going to. Just make sure there's not some social pressure or comparison there that you're succumbing to unnecessarily.
That's a great call. If it's a plate of cookies out on the cabinet in the hallway, that's probably not as big a deal. But if it's, hey, everyone come in the break room, we're going to have cake for Linda's birthday, and they're passing around the cake, that's where that might come to fruition a little bit more. Passing on the cake is not weird. What is weird is that people are putting this potentially toxic stuff in their bodies at 3 o'clock on a workday. Like, that's the weird thing. You can live to your own standards. You can live to your own morals. You don't have to succumb to those, particularly when we know that they are not the healthy outcomes. Yeah. And people go, oh, so you're a health nut. Being healthy is a matter of being alive and having freedom with your life. That's what we're talking about. I want to have freedom with my life, the freedom to choose what I want to do. People go, well, that's a pretty extreme approach to this. It's like, no, it's not. If they were passing around cigarettes, would you take one? Even if everyone else is smoking? No, of course not, because we know smoking's bad for you. There was a study done by the Journal of American Medicine, JAMA, the Journal of American Medical Association, one of the most respected medical peer-reviewed journals in the world. It was over a 24-year period with over 120,000 people. What they found was people that smoked versus people that not smoked had an all-cause mortality improvement of 1.4x. There was a 40% chance that you would be alive during that study versus if you smoked. It improved your health outcomes by 40%. That's enormous. Diabetes was 21%. That's huge. What do you think the difference was between a low versus an elite VO2 max? So again, it was 41%. It was 41% for smoking, and it was 20% for diabetes. What do you think a low VO2 max versus an elite VO2 max? What do you think the difference was?
I'm not even sure. I wouldn't even be able to guess.
410%.
410%. I would not have guessed.
It was exactly 10x smoking.
Yep.
So when people say you're a health nut, but yet they understand the smoking thing, they are just they don't quite get it. They just don't quite get it. If you have, this is from Peter Attia, that previous one was not, that was from JAMA. From Peter Attia, if you have just 5 extra grams of blood sugar, of glucose in your bloodstream, a teaspoon, that's not very much, and it's there all the time, we are so sensitive to that is considered raging diabetes to the point where you're going to have to, at some point in your life, most likely get a digit amputated. That is how sensitive we are to sugar. So for us to kind of go like, oh, and people kind of get like, they just aren't, you know that smoking's bad for you, so you don't do that. They don't yet know that smoking's bad for you, so they continue to do it. It's like we should never succumb to the peer pressure of people that are not operating with the same set of operational instructions. You have different ones. You're chasing what truly matters.
Got time for one more. This one is from Melitza. What do you think about barefoot shoes as an everyday shoe for the regular person, not elite training athlete? Are they really that much better, or is it just overhype? And I did a quick little Google search. According to Wikipedia, barefoot running shoes are characterized by their zero drop from heel to toe, no arch support, minimal cushions at the heel, and a very thin sole of around 3 to 10 millimeters. I think part of that are those toe finger shoes that were popular for 14 minutes a little while ago.
Okay. So if we're talking about those 5 fingers, like the gloves for your feet, don't be that weird guy. We just talked about social pressure. That's too weird. Even if it's that much better for you, you don't need to cause that. But here's like the thing. Actually, in terms of the low profile running shoe for everyday life, I actually like them better for everyday life than for running. Mm-hmm. Walking around in a low profile is really good. I like that a lot. Try to get as flat a shoe as you can. You do better for the arch of your feet, for your Achilles, all that stuff. The only thing that's in contact with the ground, meaning the entirety of your body, is dependent on your foot contact. If something there is off, there's going to be things up the chain that are off as well. So I think getting barefoot as much as possible is good. When you get home, take off your shoes walk around barefoot. When you're in the yard, take off your shoes, walk around the grass barefoot. When you're on the beach, if you can, if it's not rocky, get barefoot. The more barefoot you have, the better. Those muscles are working. We put our feet in these casts, and your feet start to atrophy and they start to dysmorph. Yep. High heels being the worst. The highest heel and the most crunched up toe position. When your foot lands, it's supposed to splay out. That's why toe boxes, they call them like the rectangle shoes, are actually beneficial. You want a wide toe box and a low heel. That's what you should have for a walking around shoe. When you run, I think you should run in the shoe that gives you the best performance. Lowest chance of injury, highest performance. So that ends up being one of those huge squishy things. Run in that, but walk around in something more low profile.
Mm-hmm. You know what's crazy, just because we're talking about feet and how as we get older, we don't treat them. We have a gravel driveway here, and my boys can run across the gravel driveway as if it's nothing. I go out there with socks on, and I'm a small baby because my feet are so sensitive and untested when it comes to anything but shoes and grass.
I wonder if that's because you're putting 190 pounds of pressure on your feet, though, and
they're putting 40 and 50. Yeah, possibly, but
I see that with my kids as well, particularly in the summer. We'll go across a rocky beach, and there's walking. And I'm like, and I'm like bent over with my hands out by my sides. Sometimes every 10th step, I actually crumble to the ground. I have to pick myself back up. It's like,
Bodie has to come by and lift you back up.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what's wrong with Dad?
Baby feet. That's the problem. Baby feet. Yep. All right, that's what we've got this time around for AMQAP20. ChasingExcellence.email. Get on our free newsletter list. We send out a link to a form where you can ask your questions, and we will do our best to get them into a future episode of some kind, an AMCAP, or maybe we'll do a whole episode on your questions. So we thank you in advance for doing so. Thank you for subscribing to the show wherever you are listening or watching this. Thanks for sharing it with your friends. And I'll be back soon for a brand new episode of Chasing Excellence.